Congratulations to Pa. Thank you very much for that very impressive speech. We actually brought the IGA board. I'm the representative of the International Geothermal Association. Now here in Iceland, we actually brought the whole IGA board to this venue, and we're having our board meeting on Friday and Saturday coming up. So we are very impressed by Iceland already, and we don't want to see Iceland to have coal-fired power plants. No, sorry. I actually want to convey your greetings, the warm greetings from the IGA board to you. We're very happy to be here, and we're looking forward to the next few days. I see some of the faces of our board members over here already. I just want to tell you a bit about the International Geothermal Association, which I represent. We have 30 board members, as I mentioned earlier. We have regional branches around the world, and we are very much connected with 34 national geothermal associations. So also with the National Geothermal Association of Iceland. We are very proud to be affiliated to the Icelandic Geothermal Association over here. We also have very good international partnerships with UN entities, with the World Bank. We also attended the World Bank GGDP Roundtable number 3, which took place over here for the last 2 days. So you see we're connected. We're also a partner of ARENA in the Global Geothermal Alliance. So we're also applying for observer status at the moment with the Green Climate Fund, which is supposed to provide a lot of financing for geothermal projects as well. So this just the IGA in a nutshell. We provide advisory services. We're responding to questions which come into our email and to our Outlook system on a daily basis. I just want to make a bit of promotion because we are actually, with our coffee break talks, we're actually not in the agenda of the Icelandic Geothermal Conference. So some of you might have seen this leaflet. It actually describes some of the coffee breaks that we have at the booth, at the IGA booth. And we have one talk actually coming up just shortly after this at 12:50. And we have an insurance company speaking about risk mitigation schemes that they're developing. And then tomorrow morning, for example, we have our IGA president, Juliet Newson, speaking at 10:30 about New Zealand and the geothermal industry in New Zealand. Then thereafter, also tomorrow, we have another colleague from New Zealand and a final talk from a Chinese board member. So the next talk is at 12:40 at our IGA booth on geothermal insurances. They usually only take 10 minutes, so you can grab something to eat or to drink, come to us, listen, and then ask questions or leave again. I just want to make another announcement. We're launching a geothermal expert pool tomorrow, actually, also at our IGA booth. Because at the IGA headquarters, we always get asked, do you know somebody who could do this for us in 2 weeks' time? And it's lots of questions from the Caribbean islands, from Hungary, and they're very specific. They want drilling services. They're looking for certain companies with certain language skills. So we actually want to close this gap with a registry of consultants. So if you don't have anything permanent, full-time employment going on at the moment, we invite you to sign up with us as a consultant or as a lecturer, because we're giving lots of short courses and training courses all around the world as well. So it's like a matchmaking platform where governments or industry can look for consultants. And we launch this geothermal expert pool tomorrow. This is a bookmark which we developed to assign this. But now I'm actually here to talk about the IGA at the Conference of the Parties. We attended the COP event in Paris last year in December at Le Bourget. And I just want to, with this presentation, I want to give you an insight into what we think the IGA role is and what we think the COP and the climate negotiations are going to change to the geothermal sector, or how they're going to have an impact on the geothermal sector, and how we can, on the other side, contribute to climate change matters. So this gives you an overview. Some of you have been in the opening session this morning. We've heard something about the Earth Day and the signing of the agreements last Friday, actually, which took place at the UN headquarters in New York. 175 countries actually signed the agreement. 195 countries approved it in Paris. And of these, 175 countries have signed the agreement already, not yet ratified. The ratification process comes afterwards. But over here, you can see the road to the road after Paris. This is actually the Ban Ki-moon and the President of France and the UNFCCC negotiators after they've finished the agreement. And over here, you can see the signing ceremony at the UN headquarters last Friday, also together with Leonardo DiCaprio, and a total number of over 150 state representatives were there as well. It was very prominently placed at the United Nations headquarters with music and children from all around the world as well. So earlier on I asked, what does the IGA do and what is our role with the Conference of the Parties and the climate change stuff, and can we have an impact actually on the climate change negotiations? So what did we actually physically do at the COP event in Paris? We usually always have a side event where geothermal is one of the topics that we deal with. We have a side event together with the other renewable energy associations, and these include the Wind Association, the Global Hydropower Association, the Solar Energy Association, and the Biomass Association. So with this expertise from the different renewable energy technologies, we're talking about a symphony of renewables where the different technologies can work together and convey the message of a symphony, that different aspects of different technologies can be operational either in one project or on a country basis, like for example in Iceland. We always take the example of Iceland as well. Our colleagues from the hydropower associations, they always mention that hydropower is quite important for Iceland as well as geothermal. So on a country basis, we're explaining the importance of the different renewables working together. You can see the flyer that we produced for that event. We had about 70 or 80 participants. It changed during the course of the session that we organized on the 7th of December. And to give you a bit of a background on this alliance of renewable energy entities, we were created in 2004 when there was not much awareness about renewables. Now there's other players as well, but we were created in 2004 to actually to bridge the gap between policymakers and to raise an awareness with them what renewables are, because it was still very much in the early days. Now we're actually in a new definition of our brand of the RAIN Alliance, because we see that many players are on the market and we need to identify what is our key asset as RAIN Alliance working together. So the session topics was case studies showing cities, countries and regions where renewable energy technologies are working together. And we actually, after listening to the state ministers and going into the plenaries and listening to some of the working groups, we actually came to the conclusion that it's not the technology that's missing. It's actually the policymakers setting up the regulatory frameworks and the institutional setups that's lacking at the moment, because financing is there. The Green Climate Fund was especially established to bridge the financing problem. So our conclusion was that technology solutions for 100% renewable energy future are there, finance is there, renewable resources are there as well. It's only the regulatory and institutional setup only, which is the major barrier for renewables to take over. This is one of the case studies that I usually present, where I present a hybrid plant where geothermal and solar PV work together in Stillwater. There's other hybrid plants in other parts of the world. This one is by Enel. Enel has another one in Tuscany, actually, where geothermal works together with biomass. These are the details on that project in Nevada. And then I want to tell you as well where else was geothermal mentioned at the COP. I only attended 2 days actually, but I looked through the whole program and I checked, okay, where does geothermal play a role? And it was obviously mentioned by the state ministers, by our geothermal countries. The president of Iceland obviously always has the topic on the agenda. Kenya, the Philippines, Indonesia was talking about it. So at these stands of these individual countries, we always heard it in the plenaries. The Nordic Pavilion, where some Nordic countries joined, they also had some sessions on geothermal where information was shared on district heating systems, on the Nordic Development Fund's work in East Africa, and so on. But it was still quite limited because the COP is a huge event with many, many people. One hall was dedicated to non-profits with many, many booths. So sometimes I have the feeling that, this is so much, so it's quite overwhelming sometimes. Another important aspect which was mentioned this morning in the opening was the launch of the Global Geothermal Alliance, which was created by IRENA, the International Renewable Energy Agency, and launched at the COP. The IRENA is still busy defining the work plan and the objectives. They've come down from some objectives because there's other entities around the world, like the World Bank is doing lots of financing support, the Green Climate Fund. There's policy entities like REN21, the REN Alliance. There's the IGA. So IRENA still has to find where they can close a gap. But the global aims are to address policy and investment challenges, to help create conditions for a more rapid expansion of geothermal, to overcome existing barriers, and to overcome knowledge gaps. Adnan Amin is actually over here as well, and he's going to close the conference tomorrow. Over here we can actually see your president. I'm actually quite happy to have him. I can say from an international perspective, because he's a real good man when it comes to geothermal, and sometimes we really need these guys standing up there in the front. And yeah, it's really worth to attend the closing session and to listen to the president. I really like it. So yeah, just talking about some further achievements. This COP was different from the others because renewables took a really leading role. Renewables were mentioned all the time, and the awareness really reached the people that the costs have come down dramatically over the last years. Politics is essential. People understand this as well now after Paris. And you must have, or you probably heard about the intended national determined contributions. These are the pledges which the countries submitted, and where they defined their national targets, what they wanted to achieve on a 5-year period. And this is actually monitored internationally. So if a certain country doesn't comply with these INDCs, the pledges that they submitted, then probably everybody's going to go, So I see this as an incentive that countries will aim to comply with the pledges that they have submitted prior to the COP. So this is also a bottom-up approach, which you haven't really seen like this in previous COP events. And then also the financing. Financing has been talked about a lot at this COP as well. These are just some articles which I want to show you regarding the achievements. It was agreed that the average temperature, global temperature, wants to be held well below a 2-degree target. Another aspect is that the global peaking of greenhouse gases shall peak as soon as possible and go down after that. And this transparency, a regular communication tool in updating the national pledges, that's also a very important component of the Paris Agreement. These are some other achievements which were gained. And I also need to highlight this because I'm not only looking at the positive stuff that came out of the COP, but I must also make you aware of what aspects are still ongoing. And when we look at the pledges coming from the countries, it's still not enough. If we would accept the pledges, we would still emit 1/3 more than the 2-degree target. Then I just want to emphasize the 5-year reporting, which is taking up. And I want to emphasize the financing, that this is being addressed as well. And I want to emphasize the alliances and the initiatives which were started at this COP. So these are a lot of motivating, very vital, vibrant movements. It's a momentum that was created in Paris. And we can see that the momentum is being carried onwards to the 22nd of April, to last week, when lots of state ministers and presidents gathered at the UN headquarters together with Ban Ki-moon and all the others to sign this agreement. So as alliances, we have, for example, the Global Alliance for Buildings and Construction. These are 60 groups, 16 countries. A new initiative in Africa evolved. The International Solar Alliance was started. Divest for Paris was started. So these are just a few of the alliances and initiatives which were launched at the COP. I spoke about the national pledges from over 170 countries. That's where we are at the moment. These are the current INDCs which were submitted. And still, as I said, it's still too much. We are not going to go below the 2-degree target. The countries still have to do more. The 2-degree pathway is this way. If we don't do any actions, we're going to reach 4.5 degrees of a temperature increase and more. This is a figure that shows you the investments over a 10-year period. It comes from Bloomberg New Energy Finance, and they've been looking at the new investments in renewable energies, and they've divided it into developed and developing world. But I just want to show you the trend, basically, and it's increasing year by year. Another trend, which I don't want to go into detail, the solar PV prices of solar PV modules has gone down over the last 15 years quite dramatically, whereas the installed capacity of PV has gone up. And these statistics were shown to lots of country representatives as well, and people know now, finally. These are some of the companies that have committed to renewables. And over here you see financial services, software companies, retailers, manufacturers, primary industry. Now with some of them you really have to question, I don't want to show, no, I don't want to show, no, I don't want to talk further. But some of these are a bit, they could do more, as you probably know, but they're not going as far as they could go, but they committed in a way. This is almost my last slide, just before the lunch break and prior to you going off on field trips and maybe stop by our booth to listen to the geothermal insurance scheme. Why do I think COPs are important for the geothermal sector? I think it's very important because the president of Iceland, the president of Kenya, they all go up, speak to the 190 countries. They speak about geothermal. This is really important to raise the awareness and to get the momentum going about geothermal energy. Because after the COP, I see reactions in my email inbox. I see questions from all kinds of countries getting interested in this and asking lots of questions, very diverse questions. So I see that people have gone there, or they have the task now to look into this. And so I think it's very important that the COPs take place because of this media presence. It creates political momentum, and it's a huge media event. So it's an opportunity to raise awareness and to stimulate discussions on national levels. I get requests from strange countries which I've sometimes not even heard of, and they're asking me, what do you know about our geothermal potential? And then I go and investigate and check. This is just another graph which I showed you earlier. This is where we want to go, the 2-degree target. And these are other proposals, but they're far too high. And it's business as usual. So then, this is my last slide. And I was asking us at the IGA as well, why do we go to the COPs and what is our function there? And do we want to continue this? And I think it's very important that the IGA is there for advocacy and for other topics, because we're representing the geothermal sector. The other events at the Nordic Pavilion and the country, on the country level, these are very, very important as well. But we also represent the IGA membership and the geothermal sector, so we can contribute with press releases and side events and with our presence over there, even though it's always very limited. We usually go there for 1 or 2 days, and we make appointments according to our schedules. It's also important because of partnerships. On the right-hand side, I show you with whom we work together at the moment on an international level. The IGA has the UN observer status, so we have the mandate to approach UN entities, the Green Climate Fund, IRENA and other entities, UNEP, and bring our topic to them. We also work with RAIN 21 on policy issues. We had some projects with IRENA in Latin America and the Andes, for example, and we're working with them now on the Global Geothermal Alliance. We had projects with the IFC and the World Bank, so the COP events are very important to us to create new ideas and develop new ideas with the representatives of other entities to start new projects. And then it's a networking platform. People come to our booth and they ask us, what is this geothermal? And we explain to them as well. And for awareness raising, I think it's important that the IGA is present at the COPs to raise awareness about this topic. And with this, I actually want to close and thank you for your attention. If you want to speak to us further, the IGA board, some of them are over here, but we have a booth over there at the exhibition as well. If you have questions, I think we can allow maybe some questions.
I've been short at the time, so I'll say applause.